Hello Dogs fans, welcome to another episode of After the Dogs Roar for the season of 2017. Let's not waste any time, let's get straight into having a look at the episode agenda for episode 25. I'm going to start off the show with an overview of our AFL Round 17 clash V Carlton, which took place on Sunday at the MCG. Looking forward to talking about that match. My round 17 votes from that match for the After the Dogs Roar Best and Fairest Award to come, and then a look at where we stand on the AFL ladder. Then going to dive in to our VFL round 13 clash v Geelong, which took place on Saturday night in Geelong at Simmons Stadium. A look at where we stand on the VFL ladder, and then a preview to our next VFL clash, our round 14 clash v Coburg. Then going to preview a massive AFL round 18 clash v the Gold Coast Suns in Cairns. And then to finish off the show is my favourite segment. It's the fan favourite segment. It is the 5 fan questions. Looking forward to answering your questions at the back end of the show. But let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into having a look back at the round 17 clash v Carlton. On Sunday, we were back at the MCG, a venue where we won the grand final at last year. So many memories at the venue for us as a club. We were versing Carlton in a match that we had to win. We were coming into this game with losses in the last 2 weeks and hadn't won since that 1 point win against North Melbourne at Etihad 3 weeks ago. Of course, we were also playing to keep our top 8 chances alive. So a must-win game for us against Carlton at the MCG on Sunday. Fair to say it didn't start in our favour. Carlton came out and kicked the first 3 goals of the game, and we played pretty ordinary in the first quarter. It's fair to say that we trailed by 4 points at quarter time after kicking the next 2 goals after Carlton kicked the first 3 goals of the game. But we seemed to be bombing it inside 50 far too often in the first quarter, and that resulted in in an opposition player marking the ball, which was very, very frustrating. So we had a lot to think about at quarter time. The score being Carlton 3-2-20 to the Dogs 2-4-16. The second quarter was much better. It was very, very good. We came out and played some very good football, and we had the lead at half time. And I thought this was the best quarter of footy from the boys in the last couple of weeks, I suppose, with those losses. So maybe since the game against North Melbourne. So a very good quarter. We seem to not bomb it inside 50 as much, and we seem to be looking for a target or trying to move it inside 50 another way instead of just bombing it, and I really, really like that. And this was also a quarter where Lewis Young really established himself as a real young gun. So the score at half time was Carlton 4-4-28, trailing the Dogs 7-7-49. We continued this in the third quarter. Carlton were keeping themselves in it, but we still had a very nice lead at 3/4 time of 10-8-68 to Carlton, 6-6-42, and then in the end we got a nice 20-point win against Carlton at the MCG. The final score being the Dogs 12-10-82 defeated Carlton at 9-8-62, and a very not a very good game. You know, there is some improvements to come out of it, but it was a nice win. It was a win that we needed, and it was the game that we needed to win to keep our top 8 chances alive. So now that we've won this game, I'm hoping, as a Dogs supporter and fan and member, that the club can now go on to win their next few games, and then hopefully solidate a spot inside the top 8 come the home and away season's end. So a very nice 20-point win there from our dog side. As I said, some things to improve and work on from the game, but there's a lot of positives to come out of the game as well. So let's go through the goal kickers. Bontempelli, McLean, Dale kicked 2 each. Hunter, Stringer, Honeychurch, Picken, Wallace and Johannesson kicked singles. Of course, we'll talk about Jake Stringer in a few moments' time. The best players were McRae, Bontempelli, Dale, Johannesson, McLean and Daniel. I think the best players are no doubt right there. I think Young was a bit unlucky to miss out on the best players there, because I thought he was outstanding. His intercept work in the defensive 50 was absolutely outstanding, and in various stages of the ground. So, like I mentioned, Jake Stringer, he has a left hamstring. He actually done it in the second quarter and was out for the remainder of the game. A possible 3-week injury. Not sure if it's any more than that. I haven't actually checked the medical report from the club just yet. I'm sure they've probably got it online just about now. The video where the medical staff go through the injuries and who's how they're progressing, I should say, the players injured. So I'm sure to have a look at that after the show, and I'm sure you will all have a look at that and so we can get a confirmation of how bad the injury actually is. Hopefully it's not too bad. He did, as soon as he did it, actually spend the rest of the game out. He had it on ice, and he seemed to be moving okay after the game. Not to say that that's well, it's a positive, let's just say that. So, a good crowd at the MCG, just over 35,000, and let's go through some of the positives and I guess not negatives, but just things to improve on. So, the positives, I thought we did very, very well to turn our poor start to the game around. The last 10 minutes of the first quarter was when we started to turn that around, I thought. There was some very positive signs in the last 10 minutes, and then it really showed in the second quarter when we came out and took the lead and had a good lead at quarter time. So I liked how we fixed things early, as opposed to as opposed to the last quarter against the West Coast Eagles a couple of weeks ago. We wasn't bombing it inside 50 as much after quarter time. Instead, we looked to move it, and we also tried to hit a target, which was very, very nice. I really find it frustrating when we just bomb it inside 50 and all that comes out of it is a mark from an opposition player. It's so frustrating. So to find another way inside 50 to then score is a very good option, instead of just bombing it inside 50 without the vision of hitting a target. So that was a positive. Lewis Young, like I mentioned, he was certainly a positive. I wasn't sure what to expect from this guy before the game, when he was named in the side on Thursday night or Friday. He had a very impressive first game, and this bloke has got a very good future ahead of him at the club, I suppose. He's very good at his intercept marking it, and especially throughout the game in the defensive 50, he was very, very good. He saved a lot of balls in that defensive 50 there from an opposition player marking it. He knew what he was doing. He seemed to know what he was doing, and he played a very good first game, so I'm sure he's going to be playing next week. You can't drop him after this game. He was absolutely fantastic. We won a lot of crucial areas, which was good to see. We won the disposals. We actually got a lot more disposals than Carlton, 428 to 360, so that is a pretty big gap from us, and a very, very good win in that area. We also won the kicking efficiency. We had 68% of kicking efficiency to Carlton 65. We won the contested possessions by 10, 138 to 128. We won the tackles narrowly. We won the clearances only just, and I thought the clearances actually were a little bit of a problem throughout the game, and I'll probably talk about that as I get into the things to improve on. We also won the inside 50s as well, which is something we seem to win every single week. It's just about getting that efficiency. We won by 10, 50 to 40. And also another little positive note, a little bit of a stat also, we seem to have a very good record at the MCG of late. Since the 2015 elimination final against the Adelaide Crows, we've won the next 6 games at the MCG, so that's a pretty incredible stat, and we haven't lost there since that elimination final. So we seem to be playing very good football at the MCG, and we seem to be winning every time we go to that venue, which is which is very pleasing because that's where most of the finals are played, or in fact the big day, and that is the grand final. So if we get there again this year, you can almost assure us that we're going to be in with a good chance of winning. So let's get into the areas to improve. I don't really want to call them negatives, it's just areas to improve. I thought our defence was sloppy at times. Still needs a little bit of work. Like I said last week, I don't really think I don't think we've actually replaced Hamling and actually replaced him with a real key forward. That's just my view. And I thought we were hurt on the counter attacks at times as well. But then again, when they were on the counter attack, we did do well to get multiple numbers behind the ball into our defence, which was very good to see. But we did get hurt on the counter attack at times. I thought our ruck was a bit of an issue. What was going on there? We had Bontempelli in the ruck at times. Not sure what that was about. He didn't win too many hitouts. In fact, Cruiser pretty much smashed us in the hitouts. I think he got 52. I think the next best was Roughhead, about 28 or something. I know that Roughhead probably spent a little bit more time in defence and in sort of the forward area, which by the way, I thought he had a good game. I thought his marking was quite superb. But that's probably also why Carlton won the clearances as well, because we just didn't have the hit-outs, so didn't get our hit-outs sorted. So it's been a problem all year, the ruck. I'm not sure what Beveridge is trying to do. I'm not sure why he just doesn't play Roughhead in the ruck at all times or gets Campbell in or something like that. But Bontempelli, I guess, wasn't too bad, but he didn't win a lot of the hit-outs. Cruiser was pretty dominant in that area. I thought our skills were quite poor at times, so that's just something we need to work on as a group. And our efficiency inside 50 at times, we had 50 inside 50s, only got 12 goals to 10 behinds. I thought our efficiency inside 50, that's just a work in progress, because that's something we've actually needed to work on all year. Okay, so that's my wrap of the Western Bulldogs taking on Carlton. Now let's get into my round 17 votes for the After the Dogs Raw Best and Fairest Award. Okay, so let's get into my votes. I'll start with my one vote. It goes to the first gamer in Lewis Young. I thought he was outstanding in this game and at least deserves one vote, so that's exactly what he's going to get. He actually, along with Sam Doherty and Jack Salvani, got the most marks for the game with 9 marks. A lot of them were interceptive marks, and he also got 21 disposals, 10 of them kicks, the other 11 handballs. He just seemed to know what he was doing on the ground, and I think this is the best first game I've seen from a debutant at the Western Bulldogs for a while. There's been a lot of great first game players, but I haven't seen one like this for a while. So he was fantastic. He deserves one vote, and that's exactly what he's getting. So Lewis Young, one vote for me. 2 votes goes to Jack McRae. I thought he was outstanding in this match. He got the most disposals of the game with 31. 17 of them were handballs. The other 14 were kicks. He had 8 marks, and he also made 6 tackles, 123 fantasy points if you're into to AFL fantasy. He had a good game, and probably a little bit unlucky to miss out on the 3 votes, but he gets 2 votes for me. And then the 3 votes goes to Marcus Bontempelli, who kicked 2 goals in the match, 1 behind, 30 disposals, 19 kicks, 11 handballs, 6 marks. He played very, very well in this game. And he played well last week for probably a half, was probably a little bit quiet in the second half against the Crows, but I thought this game he probably played near 4 quarters. He was absolutely outstanding, and that's why he gets the 3 votes. Just some honourable mentions, because I think Toby McLean was unlucky to miss out on the votes. If Lewis Young probably didn't play the game he did, I reckon Toby McLean would probably get a 1 vote. He was fantastic. 2 goals, 26 disposals. He was pretty good as well. And there's also a few others as well that played well. I thought Tom Liberatore played well. I also thought there was a few others as well that played very well as well. Jordan Roughhead, I mentioned, he was very good on the mark. Luke Dalehouse, Jason Johannesson, credit to him after signing during last week. He came out and had a very, very good game, probably the best we've seen for the last couple of weeks, or at least the last month or so. So fantastic from him. So all round a fantastic team performance. It was hard to give the votes this week, but I think the 3 men that I've given the votes to this week rightly deserves the votes. So let's have a look at the leaderboard now, how the round 17 votes affects the After the Dogs Raw Best and Fairest leaderboard. And Marcus Bontempelli leads with 17 votes. Jack McRae has moved into second with 13 votes. Caleb Daniel third with 12 votes. Fourth is Luke Dalehouse and Lockie Hunter with 9 votes. Joint 6 is Jason Johannesson and Toby McLean on 5 votes. 8th is Lynn Jong and Jake Stringer on 4 votes. 10th is Mitch Wallace, Tom Liberatore, Zane Cordy and Jack Redpath on 3 votes. 14th is Matthew Suckling on 2 votes, and then joint 15th is Liam Picken, Bailey Dale, Tom Campbell and Lewis Young with 1 vote apiece. So that is the leaderboard for the After the Dogs Roar Best and Fairest Award. Okay, time now to have a look at our position on the AFL ladder after round 17. We're still in 11th place. With 32 points, level with Essendon, who have the better percentage. Of course, they got a win on the weekend and probably will get a win next week. And of course, we verse them very, very soon. In fact, we verse them after next week. So that's going to be a crucial game for us if we want to get into that top 8. We're actually versing the Gold Coast Suns, who are 15th on the ladder. You can see there. It'll be interesting to see who we can actually kick out at the top 8 if we're going to actually make it. Of course, the West Coast Eagles probably have some tough ones coming up. Of course, they do have a game in Melbourne against Collingwood on Sunday. St Kilda have just dropped outside the top 8, and they have some tough games coming up in the next couple of weeks. So we could go past them if we keep winning. And of course, we know Melbourne also have some interesting games coming up as well. So you'd have to say it'd be out of Melbourne West Coast Eagles if we were going to slot into the top 8 somehow. So we're currently sitting in 11th place after round 17. Big game coming up against the Gold Coast Suns this week. They are currently sitting on 15th. Time now to get into our VFL round 13 clash, which took place on Saturday night against Geelong at Simmons Stadium, and it started off very, very well for our Footscray Bulldogs because we led 3-2-20 to Geelong, just 2 behind, so we kept them goalless in the first quarter. Always a plus when you keep the side goalless for a quarter. They did kick 3 goals in the second quarter, but we still led 6-2-38 to Geelong, 3-7-25. The lead was somewhat narrow in the half-time score. At 3-quarter time, however, we led pretty comfortably, 12-5-77 to Geelong, 5-8-38, and then in the end we got a pretty comfortable win against the Cats at Simmons Stadium in our VFL round 13 match. The final score being Geelong 6-8-44, defeated by our Footscray Bulldogs 16-10. 106. Let's go through the goal kickers. Broon had a very, very good day. He is a VFL listed player, although he seems to be a very, very good goal kicker. He kicked 5. Piani kicked 2. Dixon kicked 2 as well. Of course, still yet to break into the senior side after being dropped a couple of weeks ago. Webb, Goodyear, Jamison, Stadley, Collins, Cloak and Gowers kicked singles, and the best players were Pruden, Hayes, Clay Smith, Webb, Jamison and Cloak. You would think that Cloak is probably the likely man to come in for Stringer this week. I just, in my opinion, I think he's probably likely to come in for Stringer this week, although Clay Smith got in the best players and he'll be pushing for selection as well. So it'll be a very interesting selection discussion by the coaches and so forth, and it'll be interesting to see who comes in for Stringer and for any other player who goes out. So there you have it. That is our round 13 VFL match. We got a good win against Geelong. Let's see how that's affected our position on the VFL ladder. So we have dropped to 5th place on the VFL ladder, but Richmond have a better percentage than us, so they've gone above us. We sit in a very good spot on 5th place. And we have Coburg coming up, who are currently placed at 13th. You can see the Box Hill Hawks are on top of the ladder with only 2 losses, 1 draw and 9 wins. You can see Williamstown 2nd, Port Melbourne 3rd, and then of course Richmond 4th. We are level with Richmond on points, but as I said, they have the better percentage. So we sit 5th on the VFL ladder after round 13. Okay, time now to have a quick look at our next VFL clash for the Footscray Bulldogs. It's our round 14 clash against Coburg It's on Saturday the 22nd of July starting at 1 p.m. at Victoria University, Whitten Oval. It should be a game that we should win, and we seem to be going very, very well in the VFL. We seem to be going very, very nicely, probably likely to make finals at this stage, especially if we keep going the way we're going. And yeah, I'd be expecting us to win this game against Coburg, considering it's at home. And yeah, of course, the first game to watch on Saturday is at Whitten Oval, our VFL round 14 clash against Coburg. Make sure you you go ahead and watch if you can. I'll be following with great interest on Saturday afternoon in this game. And time now to get into a massive round 18 clash for our Western Bulldogs. They're taking on the Gold Coast Suns on Saturday the 22nd of July in Cairns. This is our yearly Cairns home game at Kazali Stadium. It starts at 4:35 p.m. and you can watch it on Fox Footy. Really looking forward to this game. I'd be expecting our Western Bulldogs side to win against the Gold Coast Suns. They haven't really been travelling too flash this year, but they've played patches of football at various weeks where they've actually been pretty impressive, but other weeks they are not as impressive. It's not going to be an easy game. Let's not say that it is going to be an easy game, because it's not. The Gold Coast Suns can put up a bit of a fight. We saw that last week against Collingwood at Metricon Stadium. But we haven't lost to the Gold Coast Suns since 2014. That was in fact at Metricon Stadium. This is the fourth time we're versing them at Kazali Stadium, and we've won all the games against them at Kazali Stadium, so I'd be expecting us to win this game, take the 4 points home back to Melbourne, and focus on the game against Essendon next week. Of course, it's not going to be as simple as that. We do have to still win this game, and considering the way we have been going the last month or so, anything can happen. But like I said, expecting us to win this clash against the Gold Coast Suns, and let's hope we can do that for our fans in Cairns at Kazali Stadium. I'm sure they're going to get a very, very good turnout once again this year at Kazali Stadium. Time now for the fan favourite segment, and that is the 5 fan questions. I've picked the best 5 questions to answer on this show, so let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into to having a look at them and answering them. And I'll start with Jenny's question, who asks, we were heavily down in winning hitouts on Sunday, leading to a lower number of clearances. What changes do you think we need to make to improve these stats? Yep, you're no doubt right there, Jenny. To be honest, we were smashed in the hitouts. We weren't so much smashed in the clearances. Carlton won the clearances narrowly, but we were smashed in the hitouts. Cruiser had a lot of hitouts compared to Roughhead and Bontempelli and whoever else was rucking on Sunday. I think we just need to put Roughhead back in the ruck and have him consistently in the ruck throughout the game, or maybe get a secondary ruck into the side, like get Campbell back in the side, or maybe someone else, maybe Tim English or someone like that. Of course, it makes it a bit hard with Tom Boyd out. Of course, he normally plays, I guess, that secondary ruck role. Or maybe Cloak will come in this week and maybe he'll play that role possibly. But we just need, I don't think Bontempelli works in the ruck for me. He's more of a midfield player. Yes, he's tall, and it didn't really work out though on Sunday in my opinion. And why play him in the ruck, right? Why play any why play a person who's not really designed for the ruck in the actual ruck? I think it's just a little bit too kind of untactical play in my opinion. So look, we really need Jordan Roughhead in the ruck, to be honest, at most times. Although he's very, very good when he's in the forward line and playing across the forward 50 and with his mark, it's sensational. So I guess he could play that kind of attacking sort of ruck if we wanted to have him more up forward, but and even defence as well. If we wanted to have him in defence, play him, a kind of a defensive ruck role sort of thing. But we just need a predominant ruck, in my opinion, to fix this stat. Red WB asks a very fascinating question. With so many head injuries and head knocks, do you believe helmets such as that worn by trendsetter Caleb Daniel should become more commonplace in the future? Look, it's a very interesting question, and look, I think that helmets probably might improve the safety of players playing on the field. But then I believe, I think someone commented saying that there's actually been research actually into helmets actually making more of an effect to concussion with them being worn. So, look, I'm not sure if it's going to be a commonplace in I guess, AFL football, because I don't think there would be players in the game who would like to wear a helmet. I think it's kind of a personal preference, and I think Caleb Daniel, that's why he wears it, because it's kind of a preference for him, and of course, he does have, of course, I guess, what would be the word? I guess he has kind of a presence to wear it because of his mother and so forth wanting him to wear it. I wouldn't say it's probably going to be much of a trend though, because I don't think a lot of players would want to wear it, even though it could possibly improve safety, of course, on the field. But I guess we're different to other sports in the sense that it's more, AFL's a faster game than those that actually wear helmets, such as NFL and so forth. So I don't think that would be more common. That would be a more commonplace in the future. I don't think, because I just don't think players would really want to wear them, to be honest. And I don't think the game's that dangerous that we really need to really look into every player wearing them and but them being compulsory. But head injuries and high knocks are very common in the game, and I think now that they are, I think the concussion rule and stuff like that, and rules like that, and I guess rules and so forth, and practices such as that have been put in place to actually improve, head injuries being managed in a very particular and appropriate way, and I think that's what we need more or less than actually wearing helmets. Casey asks, does your feeling that we won't make the finals still stand after the win against Carlton? Yes, it does at this point. I'm still not convinced, even though I thought it was a good win against Carlton. I still can't go through the fixture and say that we are going to win every single game from here. I expect us to win against the Gold Coast Suns this week at Kazali Stadium, but we've then got a tough game against the Bombers, who I actually enjoy watching at the moment. They played very, very good footy against St Kilda on Friday night, and they're going to be very, very hard to beat. And in my opinion, I think they're playing the better footy than us. They seem to be playing the better brand of footy and the faster footy, and they have some great players. Danaher is going to be absolutely he's going to be very hard to stop. And then they have, other players such as McDonald, Tipper, Woody, Merritt and Heppel, and they have a lot of great players. So they're going to be hard to beat, especially at Etihad. So that's a question mark for me. The Brisbane Lions at the Gabba, even though you would think that we could beat the Brisbane Lions, considering that we won against them at the start of the year, we're going into a state where we don't really have a good record this year. So that's a question mark, even though we should be favourites against the Brisbane Lions and should be expected to win. It's still a bit of a question mark for me, because the Lions can put up some good performances at times, and we've seen that this year. The GWS Giants in Melbourne, we should be able to win that game, but then again, question mark, because the Giants have played some good footy this year. They beat us earlier in the year, and it's still going to be a tough match. Port Adelaide play a very good brand of footy as well, and they're in the top 4 at the moment, so they're going to be hard to beat. And Hawthorn in Luke Hodges' last game, that will be a tough game as well. Hawthorn seemed to beat us a lot in recent years, although we did get the wood over them last year in the finals. So yeah, I don't think I think with our ability to probably not score as much and the way we've been playing the last month or so, I'm still at the point where I think we won't make finals. But I want to point out that I hope they prove me wrong. I hope that we do make the finals, and I really hope they've proved me wrong here. But at the moment, I'm just kind of not convinced with the draw. I think we've got some tough games coming up, and I'm a bit of a question mark around those sort of tough games. But like I said, I hope they prove me wrong. Jamie asks, does the superstart and good prospects of Lewis Young make us less vulnerable in defence going forward than we thought we would be post-veteran retirements? We probably do have some retirements coming up. So, yeah, look, I think he adds a real sort of asset role in the defence. I think that's what we need in defence, an interceptor like him. He's fantastic. He's a bit like Murphy's a bit like that as well, and I guess Dale Morris has played that way at certain stages of his career as well. He's yeah, Lewis Young was very, very good on Sunday, and I think he does make us less vulnerable. If he keeps playing the way he played and keeps intercepting the way he was intercepting on Sunday and you know, plays that role, then I think he's going to make us less vulnerable in defence, most certainly. I thought at times when we were in defence, we actually played some good defensive roles and was actually quite good in defence against Carlton on Sunday, even though I mentioned that we were sloppy at times. But I was very impressed with him, and it's going to be interesting to see how he goes this week. And by the way, there was a question, I think it was from Tracy, asking if I think he'll play against the Gold Coast Suns in Cairns this week. I think he will. There's no reason to drop him. He's and of course Wood's coming back, and that's going to be very, very interesting to see who comes out for Wood, who comes in this week. But although I actually think him and Wood would be fantastic up in defence, so yeah, I think he will stay in for the game in Cairns this Saturday. Very impressed with Lewis Young, and yes, Jamie, I think he will make us less vulnerable. He's a very, very good interceptor, plays very, very well, got a good work rate as well. Last but not least is Matty Lyons, who asks who will be our 1000th Bulldog. Young was the 999th to represent the club. Well, you'd have to think Declan Hamilton was actually named in the extended squad on Thursday to debut, so you'd have to think he's next in line. If he was named in the extended squad last week, then he must be very, very close to actually making his debut. So I actually think Declan Hamilton, just with the fact that he was named last week in the extended squad, of course, didn't end up debuting because, of course, that was an extended squad, and of course only a certain number were picked for the game against Carlton. I was nearly going to say North Melbourne then, I don't know why, but yeah, I think Declan Hamilton, looking at his stats here, or looking at, I guess, his profile, of course, he came from South Australia, and I believe he's been playing well in the VFL. So yeah, I just think with the fact that he was named in the squad last week, in the extended squad, I think he's awfully close, and he must be next in line to debut. So Declan Hamilton for me, but I think Lipinski is probably in with a chance as well. I think with, you know, probably with Stringer, you know, I guess out for 3 weeks, and you know, Tom Boyd's still out. Maybe he's someone we should bring in for the forward line, and from a forward point of view, we should bring him in. And of course, he's putting in some good performances for the VFL. But I think Declan Hamilton, because I think, yeah, like I said, extended squad, was named last week, must be awfully close, must be next in line. Although I wouldn't count out Lipinski either. And that is it for this week's episode of After the Dogs Roar. I hope you enjoyed it. Of course, don't forget to like, comment and share this video if you did enjoy it. And don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with a new episode of this show every single week. Of course, I also do another footy show on this YouTube channel called Bev's Footy Show, so make sure you go check that out. I do put a tremendously lot of time into that show as well as this show. And of course, don't forget to check out the Bev Show live streaming every Sunday at 8:30, around 8:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Time. Of course, check the Facebook page for details on that, for confirming details of the time, because sometimes the time does change. So once again, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and let's hope the Dogs can get a second straight win in Cairns this Saturday against the Gold Coast Suns. Until next week, bye for now. Go Dogs!